After my recent conflict PvP build guide, many viewers told me that I needed to try the Umbra Initiative gear set. I have to be honest though, this gear set didn't fit my playstyle completely, but the more I used it, the more fun I had. The way this gear set works is that it builds up stacks called From the Shadows when in cover, which buff rate of fire by 20% and critical hit damage by 60%. But with the chest piece, these buffs are doubled. These stacks decay over time when I'm out of cover, 2 stacks per second when moving normally, or 1 stack per second when sprinting. While out of cover and in combat, into the light stacks will build up. They heal for 40% of max armor when I return to cover, and this can be increased to 80% with the backpack. Typically I don't like using gear sets that need to build up stacks in PvP, as by the time I have built the stacks up, I'm already dead. But with the Umbra Initiative gear set, I can build up stacks as soon as I spawn into conflict, and as I sprint to engage they will decay a little, but for every 20 seconds I'm sprinting, I only need to be in cover for 1 second with the chest piece equipped. Now you might notice in the footage that when I enter conflict, I go into my inventory, swap out one piece of the gear set and then put it back on again. This is because the gear set often bugs out, but do this at the start and you should have no problems. Now personally I think that taking the chest piece is the best option. It increases my burst damage by about 38% compared to not taking it, which I think is better than taking a brand set with, say, Unbreakable for more survivability. I'm not going to take the backpack though. The extra healing is nice, but what I found works better for me was to have more armor, more health, and armor regen that was active all the time. To get this I'm running the Ninja Bike backpack along with 2 pieces of Gila Guard for the 5% total armor, 60% health and 2% armor regen. The 60% health is equivalent to about 13% armor. But why did the extra survivability work for me? Well, right now PvP is awash with Stinger Hives, Seeker Mines, the Pestilence LMG, and to a lesser extent Burn Sticky Bombs, all of which deal damage over time that can kill you if you don't have some armor regen. The Gila Guard armor regen keeps me up through the ticks until I can get to cover and use the Into the Light stacks to top my health off. There are a lot of other options that you could go with that might fit your playstyle better. Contractor's Gloves or Fox's Prayer knee pads come with damage to armor and damage to targets out of cover, both of which are multiplicative. The Matador backpack with its buffs to weapon damage and damage to armor and perfect adrenaline rush. The Catharsis mask for its weapon damage buff, healing and its status effect purge, which is very useful in today's PvP. Seska brand set or Coyote's mask to get to the critical hit chance cap and maximise the effect of the gear set's critical hit damage. There are many good options. Speaking of critical hit chance, I am stacking this and critical hit damage on every piece of gear. Don't forget that in conflict your gear is normalised. What this means is that I don't get the 10% critical hit chance from Keena's watch, so I do need to stack more on my gear. In fact I'm running 55% critical hit chance on my gear and weapon alone. Including the critical hit damage I'm getting from the gear set, I'm also running 200% at max stacks. This build does very nice damage. For my weapon I had a lot of choices. The Pestilence is everywhere in PvP right now due to the buffs it received in Title Update 22. It is a good weapon but it doesn't come with any critical hit damage mods, and this gear set doesn't provide any buff to its Plague of Outcast debuff, so for me it's not the right choice. The Capacitor does come with a 30% critical hit damage mod, and I think it's a good option with the Umbra Initiative gear set, the Rate of Fire buff helping with its very slow RPM. The Lexington is also a very popular and solid choice with its good accuracy, stability and all round good stats. In the end though I went with the Iron Lung. What I like about this weapon is that it comes with critical hit chance and critical hit damage mods. But more than that, it applies burn halfway through the magazine, which deals damage and prevents enemies from firing back accurately. But you wouldn't be wrong for using any of the weapons above. An important decision for the build is how many armor and weapon damage cores to run. Your playstyle is a huge driver of this. Having more weapon damage cores gives you a huge advantage if you are catching players unaware or if you're in a well coordinated group, but for more cautious and solo players like myself, you might want to lean more towards armor cores to give you time to get to and use cover, or if you are entering into long distance trades. 3 red and 4 blue cores is working well for me. A few final important things to run through. I'm using a Defender drone and a Stinger Hive. I do miss not having Unbreakable or Adrenaline Rush on the build, but a drone makes up for that a little bit. Stinger Hives are very popular for a number of reasons. Leave them on your flank as an early warning that enemies are pushing from that direction. The bleed stasis effect prevents enemies from sprinting and getting away. And of course, it deals a little bit of damage. For specialisation, there are many good options, but personally I am currently using the Demolitionist for a number of reasons. The 5% damage to targets out of cover my teammates gain helps everyone get the win. The 20% burn resistance is very useful when you come across players also using the Iron Lung. Being able to ignore explosions can be a lifesaver in getting out of range of an artillery turret. And getting a full refill of my weapon when my armour breaks can prevent reloading mid-fire from taking me down. I rarely use it, mainly because I forget, but I am running the Pyromaniac as my secondary weapon. When I empty my mag on the Iron Lung, being able to swap to this weapon and get 30% amplified weapon damage can be the difference between burning enemies escaping or getting the kill. The more I play this build, the more I really like it. It is making me play in a different way, more aggressively at the right time, using cover in a better way, and generally, I think it is making me a better PvPer. Not good, just better. But if this build isn't for you, then check out these videos here so you can find the perfect build for your playstyle.